Welcome to When Work Works, the podcast that helps leaders navigate the fast-changing world of work. I'm Julie Develin, and today we're diving into one of the most dynamic areas shaping the employee experience, and that is HR technology. So the tools that we use to recruit and engage and develop our people are evolving faster than ever, and thanks to AI and automation and data-driven insights, the speed of change is faster than ever. So to help us make sense of it all, I'm thrilled to be joined by Ray Wang, CEO and founder of Constellation Research, best-selling author, and one of the most respected voices in digital transformation and disruptive innovation. So today we're going to talk through about what's really driving change in the HR tech industry, how leaders can cut through the hype, and where the biggest opportunities lie for creating better workplaces. So Ray, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me here.
So Ray, this podcast is called When Work Works. To start, can you fill in the blank for me? Work works when?
When it's fun, when you have all the information insights, you're on a great team. That's when work works.
Fun is so important. That's like an underrated thing at work, right? Like, if we're not having fun, why are we even doing it?
Yeah, think of the first job you had where you had an amazing boss, right? You had a great team. You're still friends with them. They're at your wedding. They're at your child's first event. Like, that is the kind of thing we're trying to engage in. And we haven't done that in a while, right? And this is what we're trying to get back to.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. So, Ray, you obviously are immersed in the HR tech world and the tech world in general and AI and all of the things. And what we're talking about today, the state of HR tech and sort of where we are from an engagement perspective and all of that. And I'm curious to know from your perspective, when you look at HR technology and the whole landscape of the HR tech ecosystem today, what's the biggest shift you're seeing in how organizations are investing or prioritizing?
We went from boring core solutions to really cool HR tech startups back to agentic AI platforms. And I think that's really important. In a world of agentic AI, data is the most important piece. And if your data is sitting out over here, you can't bring it back together to do something with it. The whole point is about decision automation. We need a business outcome. And so what we're doing right now is we're coming back to platforms, we're coming back to suites, and then more importantly, the data is the most important piece that we're trying to get to.
It's in every single conversation I'm having, and that you lead with it and say, this is what's the biggest shift that we're seeing here in the world of work, right? And HR tech, it's crazy to me. What is the first couple of things that our listeners should know about how to ensure that their data can be trusted?
I think the important thing is to make sure that you have data policies that say the information, the insight is validated, you know where it's coming from. You start with the payroll data, you work with the organization data, the people data, all the information around that. Those objects are important. So the people object, the time object, the project object, the finance object, that's where everything revolves. And then you start asking business questions, right? Do I need, 10 more FTEs here? Are my people over here happy? Is this department needing new staffing requirements? What's changing over here? Are there L&D requirements? Then we can ask those business questions, because what we're trying to do is cut across functional fiefdoms.
So much to unpack with this. For years, right, the conversation has been around engagement. Would you agree with me when we say that value is now a bigger story when it comes to employees?
There are two things that are important, right? Engagement got us to connect, but then if nothing happened, who cares, right? So that's why we're focusing on value. And then the next level up is really the experience, right? Once we have value and experience, we can then do something with it. And so what did you get out of your talent efforts? What did you get out of your training efforts? What did you get out of being able to provide benefits easier? How did onboarding happen? Well, the value is the metric that's important. Did you save time? Did you save money? Did you get a business outcome? Before, we had what we call vanity metrics, which is, I got lots of engagement. Great. And what did you do with it? And that's why we're focused on the value and the business outcome.
I love that vanity metric. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, vanity metric is like, we onboarded 3,000 people. Okay, great. And 99% of them had a bad time.
Right.
You don't want that as a metric.
Right.
We onboarded 3,000 people who were 99% happy, right? So we've got to take a metric, attach it to a financial number or a business outcome, and then it becomes an actionable metric.
You're speaking my language, because I think it's so important to take that data or take that information and then be able to tell the story based on the business goals and transformation, right? And how HR and other functions related can actually help drive that ROI.
Right. And when you think about the ROI, it's different for every department, every group, right? Let's say you're onboarding a group of frontline workers in retail. What you want to make sure is they've got the customer experience training. They've got the ability to handle escalations. They've got the confidence and the ability to understand the product and the service they're making. Those are the metrics we want to look at.
Right. We are at an inflection point where HR is finally seen as a value creator rather than a cost center. Do you feel that way?
It does. We have to understand we're in the age of AI, and the humans that are actually delivering on the value are being treated very differently than before. If all the mundane tasks, all the repetitive stuff goes away, suddenly you become very strategic. And that's what's happening in the marketplace. We're trying to keep the best talent. We're trying to attract the most important talent. And more importantly, we're trying to apply the human touch.
Yeah. We have that seat at the table. HR in most organizations, right? How do we keep that seat at the table? I think that's the question. And one of the ways that we can do that is by being able to tell a story with the data that we have. But you have to have good tech to do that.
There's three things, right? You have to have the data. You got to have the facts. Two, you have to have really good storytelling because you want to talk about the business outcomes, the impact you had. And of course, the last part, which is really the most important part, is you have to have good talent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's put it back in order. It should be good talent, great data, and amazing storytelling.
All right. Those three things. You hear that? Good talent, great data, amazing storytelling. I love that. So AI, predictive analytics, and all of that, how do they factor into this new value equation? I think that's something that we could take a whole episode on, right?
Well, let's go back to the original thing around data. We wanted data and we wanted insights so we can actually make decisions. And the faster we can make decisions, we want to get this thing, what we call from data to decisions. And the goal here is to achieve what we call decision velocity. You and I make a snap decision. How long does it take you to get out of management committee? A day? A week? A month? Maybe never. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
So machines are able to make hundreds and thousands of decisions per second. And the more of those mundane decisions we can move more quickly, the more likely your organization can achieve success. There's a friend of mine that has a great example. He says, I'm an okay chess player, but if I play a grandmaster, I'm going to lose. But if you give me 2 moves for every 1 move, I'm going to win. And that's what we're trying to get to.
So it's almost like using AI as a cheat code.
It is a cheat code.
It is a cheat code for sure, for sure. So regarding driving this value and not just engagement, what are the things that CHROs should define or what should they measure? Is it productivity or retention or something broader or all of the above?
It's going to sound a little bit meta. There's a reason I'm going to say this. We often think about in the age of AI, it's about automation. I want you to flip the script. The question we should be asking is when and where do we insert a human? We've got automation, decision trees are going to be collapsed, but you're going to insert someone for regulatory compliance, for a human touch. When you're 35% sure that that decision is okay, you're going to have human judgment in place. And once we do that, you're going to completely view the role of HR differently because we're the last generation of managers to only manage humans.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, think about this.
I
We've got
know.
agents, we got humans. We're going to be doing performance review on agents. So I don't know.
Yeah, I find that interesting because what does that mean for job design, right? And what does it mean for the current incumbent jobs and the job descriptions that are currently there? I think folks are going to have to take a look at all job descriptions and say, okay, how has this changed? And also, what happens if the machine screws up? Is it the human's fault? Is it the machine's fault? That kind of thing.
You're absolutely right. And what we have to do is think about agentic scale versus human scale. In agentic or machine scale, they're working 24/7. They don't take breaks. Humans need to process information, connect, collaborate, get a sense of what's going on. And so we'll have to make sure those things match.
Right. So those agentic tools are sort of always working behind the scenes, right? I know it's confused. A lot of this jargon and these words are confusing to folks.
Look, if you're automating and you've got bots and you've got agents that are working on your behalf, at some point they may be moving so far ahead of the human, we're going to have to take a step back and connect, right? So for example, we've automated trading systems. When the market crashes 3%, we put a trading curve, everything shuts down, we reset the algos, we have a conversation, say, hey, what's going on? And then we go back and we start it up again. We'll have to make sure to take breaks to get to human scale.
Do you have any examples of how organizations have successfully shifted from tracking engagement metrics to actually measuring that business impact?
There are a lot of organizations that actually started to do that, right? It's not the number of calls you take, it's the number of calls that are actually handled by agents and the number of calls that are handled by agents that are a 5 or higher, right? Be on a score of 5 out of 7, right? Depending on what you're using. And that's kind of like what people are trying to start tracking. And then you're also looking, for example, how many agent calls are actually taken as the first call and first call resolution. So those same metrics we use in contact centers are now being applied to agents. And especially if you're in an HR service center where you're handling tons of requests, it'll also be what's the cost per call, right? So if I've got an agent answering a call, they can pick it up from anywhere. See, here's the beauty. We used to touch tone, get to the menu, figure out what's going on. Now you can start anywhere, end anywhere, and create your own choose your own adventure.
Wow. You make it sound so cool. I mean, because it is cool,
It's
right?
fun.
It
This is
it
the
is
best
fun. I
age to
know.
live in for this.
When we talk about C-suite folks, HR people, a lot of times when I talk to them about AI and the value of tech and all that, they say, "Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. How do I get my executives on board?"
We've been giving this a lot of thought, and we realize that we need to have more tech people at the board level. So whether you're at SHRM or NACD, what we want is to bring and elevate tech people into those board conversations so they can actually look at it. One of the products that we've recently created is called The Board. And it's because we have a lot of people asking about how can organizations get up to speed on the technology because they know it's impacting the business. And it's got to come from the board level with the CEO to be able to make those investments. Sometimes you got to make the investments. Sometimes you got to take a pause. Sometimes you got to think about, as you talk about all the time, that cultural transformation.
Mm-hmm. That's actually great advice. So actually have tech people on the board and have tech folks sitting closer to the decision makers so that way they can explain the value.
Yeah. I mean, on the average board, the experience level in an industry is amazing. The knowledge and the networks are great. But when it comes to tech, I mean, they're getting a D- in terms of their understanding of the impact of tech. Let me give you an example. We're operating at 10x, 100x, 1000x scale. Most people don't understand that. And I'll give you a simple one. NASA sends a rocket up, but SpaceX can do it for 1/10 the cost. The Indian Space Agency can do it for 1/10 the cost of SpaceX. That's a 1/100th difference. We're already 100x. Now, if you're in the middle of building a space program and you're already 100x behind, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that's happening in every industry. It might not be 10x, but it could be 50%. It could be 80% and rising over time. As a board member, you have to know that we're running against time.
Right.
And if we don't move fast enough and achieve decision velocity, we're going to be cut out. And that's the exponential rate of what's happening in AI.
Yeah, and the amount of decisions that businesses have to make today is more than ever.
And some of them are really mundane.
Yeah,
And some
yeah.
of them are regulatory. Like you should be able to make that decision right away.
Yeah, and a lot of times we overthink those decisions too,
Oh, yeah,
right?
we do.
Yeah.
Well, we're humans. We like
I
to
know
talk.
we are
We
humans.
like to
I was going to
talk. We're
say this
humans.
isn't a therapy session, right? Or maybe it is.
Maybe
I
it
don't
was.
know. AI therapy,
That's it.
tech therapy. So, regarding the future of HR tech and the HR tech ecosystem, and what excites you the most?
I'm real excited by the number of startups that can get to work right away. You're seeing 1 to 2 person startups get to 5 million, 10 million. Product-led growth is now getting to about 100 million. Recently, 4 of my son's friends dropped out of school, started a company, hit 17 million ARR. They're going to hit 37 million ARR with 8 kids.
Wow.
I mean that in an affectionate way. You've got 8 21-year-olds basically running a company that's almost 40 million, no investors, and it's happening in the HR space.
That's super exciting. Are there any specific technologies you think will most transform how we understand and deliver employee value?
I think the most important technology that's going to happen is our ability to assess knowledge and our ability to assess our ability to learn. Those two things are going to transform which workers are on the front line, which workers are strategic. We're going to look at assessment in a way we haven't seen before, and we're really thinking about the skill sets that we need going forward to move in the speed of AI.
Yeah, the skill set is something that we have been talking a lot about at UKG. How do we let folks know, hey, you're going to use these AI tools, we need to give folks the skills to actually use them, right? And not leave people out to dry.
I was speaking at a keynote for GE Appliances with Kevin Nolan, the CEO, last January, and he told his entire team, every one of you will be using AI by the end of the year. And you're on the shop floor, you got computer vision looking at quality. You're in marketing. Instead of doing a 6-month global campaign, it's now in 6 weeks. You're writing copy and suddenly using AI to help you augment and come up with ideas, right? You're doing product design. You have simulation tools that are showing you what it would be like to design or redesign a refrigerator or store bottles and cart and food in a different way.
Wow.
That's where we're moving.
Last thing I'll ask regarding AI and this conversation regarding ethical AI. I've been hearing a lot of folks who are concerned about the ethics behind it and also the environmental impact. What do you say about that?
Well, let's address the first thing first. We have 5 rules of ethical AI. We put those out almost 10 years ago. First one is you want transparency in the algorithms. Second thing, they have to be explainable. Bias is not a bad thing. That's how you make decisions. But unwanted bias, you want to be able to reverse and unlearn. So we got transparency, explainability, reversibility, and then we have to have the ability to learn over time and build that capability to get up to high level precision. And then the last piece is we need to be able to start with a human and end with a human.
Yeah, that's very important. So you have that information on Constellation Research's website?
We have it all at constellationr.com. You can check it out there. We also have Constellation TV that you can look at. Now, on the energy side, real quick, we're going to get the better compute. We're going to get the cheaper forms of energy, but we're in the middle of an energy war. Let's look at the AI market very simple. It's about data, it's about chips, it's about energy and policy. China has data. They have cheap energy at 8 cents a kilowatt hour. They've got amazing policy. They have no chips. The US has a ton of data. We have expensive energy, double the cost of China at 17 cents. And we have an interesting policy that's kind of laissez-faire, right? But we have the chips. Right. And so that's the game. Europe has no data, no energy, no chips, and really bad policy. You want to look at a war? That's exactly what's going on. And energy has to come down in cost. We have to take it from 8 cents to 4 cents to 2. And that's where renewables, that's where small modular reactors, and that's where an all-in strategy is going to come in. Everything's on the table.
Wow. So we talked about a lot. Any final parting words for the audience?
Let's wrap it all up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Number 1, when and where you insert a human is super important. It's not about where you automate. 2, do you have enough data to get to a level of precision that you can use to make decisions? Most people don't. And so you're going to have to augment data, partner for data, be able to get to those data sets. You guys built an amazing product that just did that, right? So we can
yes,
start
we
there.
did. UKG, yes.
Right? And then the fourth thing is really we have to operate at machine scale with humans. And then the last piece, who do you sue when something goes wrong? You're moving in that direction, right? What happens if something goes wrong?
Right.
Do you, for example, a autonomous vehicle gets into an accident, what do? Do you sue the manufacturer? Do you sue the software manufacturer? Do you sue the telco, the roads, right? Before you put anything out in the wild, put yourself in the shoes of the user. Make sure you don't do anything crazy. Make sure you protect their data, the privacy's there. And if you're making a decision that involves in a human, make sure the human is the final decision maker.
Human is the final decision maker. I think that's a great way to end the conversation, except for the rapid fire questions that I'm so excited to ask you.
Go for it.
All right.
All right, here we go.
What was your first job?
First job was I pumped gas at a gas station and I cut lawns.
And what's the greatest lesson that you learned from those?
You got to make mundane work fun.
Yeah. All right. So what one book do you always recommend, even if it's your own?
That is a great question. Might get me into trouble, but it's Atlas Shrugged.
Okay.
I think what Ayn Rand described was a very different world about what would happen. And then the second one with anything Isaac Asimov, because in a world of AI, we need 3 rules to be able to deal with machines.
All right. And then the last question, what is one thing that listeners would be surprised to learn about you?
I love EDM, and sometimes you might find me DJing at a party somewhere.
Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. But that still has a tech vibe to it, you know?
All right, non-tech vibe. No.
Ray, thank you so much for joining me and for your insight. I mean, this conversation has really highlighted that the future of HR, and the future of work really belongs to not just the technology, but the humans also, right? And I think that organizations that will thrive are the ones that use the data and AI together ethically to empower people. So I appreciate you coming and talking and sharing your incredible wisdom and insight. And in the show notes, we will put a link to some of Constellation's research, as well as if folks want to connect with you, they can do that on your LinkedIn.
Definitely. And the future is what we make it.
The future is what we make it. Absolutely. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to When Work Works. If you enjoyed today's episode, please let us know by leaving us a rating and a review. Be sure to follow, share, rate. Until next time, keep building workplaces that work. Thank you so much, Ray.
Hey, thanks a lot.
All right.